Oh, hi there. Excuse me, I'm just playing with this dangerous spider. Ooh. Of course, this is a black arachnia transformer from the what was it? It was like the weird spin-off of the War for Cybertron games where they tie in the Beast Wars things. It was animated. Anyway, at any rate, listen, these toys are fantastic. This is the one I've always been a huge Black Arachnia fan, so that's why I had to pick this one up. You can't. It's hard to even make out all the wonderful details of this fantastic creature. It's one of the few toys I've liked so much that I actually bought two of them because I got one that's NRFB. That's right, never removed from box. But this presents an excellent opportunity to show you something that's always been one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to Transformers. All right, I really only have a few of them that really kind of irk me, and this figure has one of the things that I'm talking about. Now, if you look real close, I don't know if you can see that really well, but if you look at Black Arachnia's face here, come here, let me get some light in here. You can see she's got these little red eyes, right? But then, if you look at the NRFB, right? Look, she's got gold eyes, and they're not the same figure, and they're not the same size if you look close enough. Well, when you get one and you transform them, it's because you realize that they have two different sets of spider faces. They have the spider face for when she's actually in beast form, and then they have the spider face that's supposed to be the spider face when she's in robot form. Let me calm this light down. It's ridiculous. Listen, I say all that to say this. It seems like there's been an aesthetic choice with a lot of Transformers, especially recently, where they want them to look like the show version of the Transformers from whatever various animated series, and but they don't want to follow the same rules that particular bot was supposed to possess. Another consistent offender of this is Optimus Primes. There have been several Optimus Primes that have two sets of grills. Now you look at Optimus Prime, right, and it's pretty obvious. You've got two windows that make a chest, and you've got a grill that make abs, right? But when you transform him in that traditional G1 fashion, he gets this real blocky shape, which I like that aesthetic. They look like robots. But in the cartoon, they wanted them to look more human-like, so they gave them a waist. Well, the only way to be able to achieve that with modern Transformers was to abandon that idea. Okay, so they transformed them in such a way where it looks like it has the grill from when it was a truck, but it doesn't. That's not the same grill. They tuck that grill down or split it aside, or it gets covered up or something, and then another grill pops out. I'm not going to show you any of that. I don't feel like I have to. There's a million transformation videos where you can see that. And like I said, that's probably one of the more egregious offenders. They're constantly doing that with Optimus Prime. And to me, it takes away from the whole vibe, right? There was a creative aspect with the original creators in Japan of these toys, of seeing things in a different way. And you would see a truck or you would see a car and say, that looks like a face, that looks like a body. You know, even Megatron being a gun, somehow they saw the shell ejection port and said, that looks like the collar of a suit. And ran with it and made a whole toy and said, well, if that's the collar of the suit, that must be sideways, and these part are the feet, and this is where the head goes, and blah, 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 yada, 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 on and on and on, right? And then later on, we got to where we could get better plastics, better injection molding, better engineering for these toys, to where they could look one way as a robot and look another way as their alternative form, but they didn't coincide. And so, and I get it, honestly. Black Arachnia is a perfect example. If you know anything about the Gen 1 Beast Wars toys, Black Arachnia was a color shift from one called Tarantulas. Now, I used to have one back in the day. I don't now because I thought I'd be a mature adult at some point in time in my 20s. That's a scam, kids. Don't fall for it. And I got rid of a bunch of my old Transformers. But I'm going to show you an image of what Tarantulas looks like, and you're going to be like, oh, he looks like a giant beefy guy with his giant pecs. And when they made Black Arachnia, who in the cartoon was this lithe, skinny woman that was like half the size of Tarantulas, but the toy was the exact same toy, just color shifted. Okay, that kind of takes you out of the vibe and everything. So like that's one of the reasons I bought two of these, because they did make her look like a spindly spider, and then when she's in robot form, she looks like the cartoon version of her robot form. But they could have done something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining to complain. I will say this though, talking about Megatron toys, that goes back to another issue that I have. Megatron did this a little bit, but in my own traumatized Transformer brain of a robot in disguise, one of the more egregious offenders was one of my other pet peeves was Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. Of course, they're all the same toy, they're just color shifted different colors. And that is to transform them. And a lot of Gen 1 toys had this issue. I think Megatron did. I think the Omega Supreme had this same issue. They were not one thing that you transformed into one other thing. You had to take pieces off of them, specifically with the jets. You had to take their wings off. You had to take their tail fins off and then transform them, and then you had to put them back on. So when this was animated, even in the cartoons, this used to take me out as a little tiny child. You would see them animated, and you know the wings would just like levitate off and then go back on where they were supposed to, or they would make a different choice and they would just kind of like shrink and go away and then pop back out. It shows a lack of creativity in toy making. Now, some of that stuff has been addressed, you know, and you don't see wings popping off and getting popped back on. I really think, to be honest, my biggest problem with it is, and it's one of the things that I've always hated ever since I was a little kid playing with these toys, is they're so easy to lose. You have a part that's not permanently attached and it falls off and it's just gone. And now you have a piece of a jet. You have a piece of a robot. And it's never the same again. Which brings me, okay, we were talking about the OG Tarantulas and Black Arachnia. It brings me back to another pet peeve that I have, which is those toys specifically stick out in my mind, but I believe there's some other ones too. Yes, the War for Cybertron Megatron, the full effect of his ionic blaster is the purple projectile that's in it. So if you lose it, it doesn't ever look right ever again. That's less egregious than the spiders from Beast Wars. The spiders from Beast Wars had a blaster that would shoot. It looked kind of like this one, but it actually had a string, so they could be like spiders and hang from a string. But alternatively, they had missiles that were made out of their legs, right? You could, famously, Beast Wars used toy technology where they could be broken and snap back together. They were designed to do that. One of the things utilizing that design was legs that could be snapped off and used as the bullets inside of their spring-loaded handgun, which sounds fun, right? Until you lose one of the legs, and now you've got a 7-legged spider, if that. Moreover, it didn't even go along with the canon of the show, because in the show, their legs were like machine guns that they would turn this way. I don't know where they kept all the bullets. That was a logistics fallacy that my autism really struggled with as a child. But those are really the three big things, and you don't see it a lot in Transformers, but when they can manage to creatively get around those things, where we're not recycling, we don't have two sets of grills and a cab over Peterbilt just for the sole aesthetics of it. We're not purposefully putting pieces of our toys out there for them to wander off and go missing. If you can keep within those constraints, modern Transformers toys are doing something really spectacular. Let me know what you think, and if you have any weird pet peeves that you've seen in either the Beast Wars series or any of the Transformers series that really just drives you nuts or takes you out of what you think that they should be. And then while you're at it, that's a comment. If you're going to comment, you might as well like the thing, you might as well smash that subscribe button. Are we still smashing subscribe buttons? Boy, I hope so. Because the more of you smash that subscribe button, the closer I get to quitting my day job. And I'm not good at my day job. I'm not good at this job either. But we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, I've been AJ this whole time. Okay. And roll outers, whatever. That's copywritten. Don't tell them I said that.